Good day there once again, viewers. This is your mate Kamikaze78 here, coming to you guys with some more World of Warships content. Now guys, before we get into the brunt of this video, I'd like to quickly announce that I'm going to be doing a short giveaway here in tandem with this video. So guys, the giveaway, I've got 5 promo codes that go in tandem with the Space Battles event for April Fools that the guys at Wargaming have thrown on, and each of these codes will contain 5 sci-fi consumable camos to apply to your ships for a handful of bonuses in-game. These camos are available on all servers, so there's going to be no region locking in that sense. And to be in the running for the giveaway, I want you guys to share one tip that you have learnt recently in World of Warships that has changed how well you play. Whether it be something small or large, anything, the most creative and the most useful tips will win the giveaways, guys. So get typing. What are some of the most useful tips you've learned in World of Warships as of late? Help out a fellow player and potentially win yourself some codes. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's move on to the meat of this video. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Kronshtadt, a Tier 9 premium Russian cruiser, a ship that is currently available to super testers and community contributors. We'll be going over some of the stats of the ship as she currently stands, how she plays, and what you guys can all expect from the ship if the stats are anything to go by currently. With that said though, I must emphasize that this ship is a work in progress and is currently within its first round of testing in live gameplay. With that in mind, all stats that we discuss in this video and any gameplay that you see might not be entirely indicative of what the ship will play like in her final build. Anyway, let's start talking about the Kronshtadt and what she brings to the table. Basically, she's a cruiser with battleship guns, a battle cruiser if you will, and she is massive. She features 305mm guns placed in a 3x3 format for her primary armament, and they certainly pack a punch when required to. The only catch is that she is a Tier 9 cruiser, which in turns means that at that same tier, or even at Tier 8, battleships are going to be laughing right in your face with your quote-unquote puny guns. While 305mm guns are nice on a cruiser, they certainly aren't anything revolutionary, and as a result, you're going to struggle if you rely on AP exclusively when dealing with battleships, for example. While yes, a broadsiding battleship is very fun to hit in this ship with the AP shells, as you can see yourself landing 10k salvos if your aim is true, she is going to struggle as a jack-of-all-trades AP kind of ship against angled targets. She does, however, have a very flat shell arc, which is going to allow for an easier time leading your targets, and depending on the ships that you're facing, greater opportunities for penetrations. This does, however, limit the chances for plunging penetrations. But if you're a fan of sitting behind islands and firing over, forget it. This ship will not do it. Annoyingly so at some times. Her HE isn't the worst in the world either, and is capable of scoring some neat fire damage on a target with a 26% fire chance per shell, and with a reload time of 20 seconds, you have a real opportunity here with this ship to score some serious fire damage on larger ships. With that said, she isn't a fantastic destroyer hunter, as the lacking rate of fire and the really average dispersion of 242 meters, for a cruiser at least, will see small targets like DDs hard to hit reliably unless you get really close. And you don't want to do that in this ship at all, and we'll talk about that in a second. Secondary wise, she does feature 4 sets of 2 100mm guns and 4 sets of 2 152mm guns, all of which fire HE rounds at a range of 5.3 kilometers. So there's a chance here to score some CQC HE damage, but you shouldn't be doing that because that would require you to get close in the first place, and once again, we're not doing that in this ship. Anti-aircraft on this ship is, well, practically non-existent, featuring 31 DPS at the 1.2 kilometer range, 85 DPS at the 3.5 kilometer range, and 59 DPS at the 5 kilometer range. So note to any other players out there who may see this thing in battle before it's released, do not, I repeat, do not go to it for AA cover. Maneuverability wise, she isn't anything special to boast about as far as turning circles go, but she is zippy, capable of moving at 35.2 knots in a straight line, and she will get to that speed quickly, which opens up some opportunities for dodging shells by stopping and starting the ship as required. Ships aren't going to expect a ship of this size to be as quick as she is, which will allow for you to put her speed to good use and to your advantage. Her turning circle, however, is pretty trash for a cruiser. even worse than the turning circle that some will be used to of the Moskva. A rudder shift time of 14.9 seconds and a turning circle radius of 840 meters will see her having troubles dodging torpedoes and even shells, hence why I mentioned the idea of stopping and starting to throw your enemy's aim off as opposed to simply turning away. But then we move on to this ship's survivability, and oh dear. As you guys have heard me mention time and time again here, the Kronshtadt is not designed in any way, shape or form to get close to her enemies, and that is mainly thanks to the fact that she is a big ship with some incredibly flimsy armor. Battleships are going to eat you for breakfast in close quarters combat, and if you let them, at medium to long range as well. Her citadel is located on the waterline, but her broadside armor only puts about 230mm max between you and a juicy AP round, not to mention that her citadel armor also extends around the side of the ship on the forward port and starboard plates, with the exact same case existing on the stern of the ship, so angling can be a bit of a pain here. But wait, it gets worse. Her fore-end plating is only 25mm worth of armor, and behind that is the Citadel Athwart, which only gives you 330mm worth of armor. So not exactly the hardest thing for a battleship to penetrate, which really isn't going to end well for you. Her upper deck only sees 25mm of armor, with the castmate armor only providing an extra 90mm, making plunging fire potentially painful as well, even resulting in citadels at times. Scoring non-penetration hits and deflections while in the Kronshtadt is a mystery at best. So brawling with this thing is definitely not its strong suit, especially with the corresponding health pool of only 59,800 HP. A big ship that turns slow with a low amount of armor makes for a painful experience at best in brawling situations. Concealment on the Kronshtadt isn't too bad, however. Out of the box she has a surface detection of 14.3 and an aerial detection of 13 kilometers, but with the correct commander skills and upgrades I could get it down to 11.3 surface and 10.3 aerial detection. So this is the Russians' attempt to breed a battleship and a cruiser, and it's safe to say that they've created an interesting specimen. She is basically what I would like to call a glass cannon, very much like the Molotov or the Kirov out of the Russian cruiser line, a ship that can dish out some painful damage when used correctly, but really can't take that punishment back in return. The Kronshtadt is certainly a ship that requires a lot of skill to be good at. This isn't a ship that you can pick up and buy off the get-go and expect to do well in. You need to know how to throw the enemy's aim off with your acceleration and deacceleration. You need to know when the best time is to go stealth, when to fire, and when you can afford to expose yourself. Something that can be incredibly effective in a ship like this is staying in stealth while remaining close to stationary, only moving at about a quarter speed or something along those lines, and then darting it as soon as you see people begin to fire at you and take interest in you. As I said before, no one expects a ship of this size to take off like she does, so using that to your advantage is going to be the best bet to surviving at ranges. And that is where you should be really keeping yourself here with the Kronshtadt, in case you hadn't guessed that at this point. She's designed to be a sniper ship, sadly. She doesn't have the armor to support CQC brawling, she doesn't feature a turning circle for combating torpedoes, she doesn't have the AA to support assaulting battleships. What she does have, however, is a nice gun range to concealment ratio and a very flat shell arc. Not to mention that she also has a spotter aircraft available, which pushes the range out even further. This is certainly a ship that prospers from patience, you know? Prospers from waiting for enemies to become distracted by larger, potentially closer allied vessels and then light them up from afar. While that might sound a little bit rude and un-team-like, it is, just a little bit, but this is a ship that requires you to be a little bit selfish to be successful, and at the end of the day, by having your team draw more of the fire, you can focus on getting accurate, uninterrupted hits on your target, contributing to the efforts of the team and making your allies' sacrifice worth it. This is a ship that simply doesn't do frantic drive-by shootings, it needs to be steady to be effective. The 20-second reload demands that you make the most of your shots, and if you do, you will be rewarded handsomely. The 20-second reload is particularly fantastic for lighting up battleships with fire damage. If the battleship gets a little bit excited with the damage control party ability with the first fire, you'll be able to set a subsequent fire as soon as that ability wears off, and just like that again, no problem, you're scoring damage. With that said though, on the back of all this talk about, focusing on a target and scoring as much damage as you can, it is one thing to focus on a target and score plenty of damage, but it's another thing to become tunnel visioned, and that is something that players can take advantage of with anyone playing in the Kronshtadt. If you tunnel vision in this ship, the giant profile and easy to penetrate armor will see you transported straight to destination fucked swiftly, especially when caught broadsided. So with that in mind, always keeping an eye out when in this ship is key for incoming rounds. I know that I've been broadsided and fucked over many a time before by simply not keeping an eye out. It's a costly mistake you can make, but that can also be assisted with from some commander skills. And on that note, let's take a look at the commander skills and upgrades for this ship and what works best with the playstyle. When it came to the ship upgrades, I took main armament mod 1, damage control mod 1, aiming systems mod 1, which brings the dispersion down slightly to a more respectable 225 meters, steering gears mod 1, concealment systems mod 1, and main battery mod 3. Now, main battery mod 3 I originally chose to better improve the ship's performance when caught out in CQC, and to improve the reload time for when changing ammo when required. But since spending a lot of time in the ship, I found that it was probably best to grab Gunfire Control Module Mod 2 instead to better increase the range of the guns. Not to mention that the downside to gun traverse speed in combination with the Steering Gears Mod 2 actually works against this ship and sees the guns trailing behind the ship when you're in a full turn. So focusing on that range as opposed to a little bit more CQC functionality is going to be a little bit better for the ship as it currently stands. Now, as for the commander skills, priority target was my first choice, followed by expert marksman to assist with target acquisition and avoiding tunnel vision accordingly, superintendent to give a few more repair parties and hydroacoustic searches to the mix, and concealment expert to better improve that gun range to concealment ratio. On top of that, demolition expert, adrenaline rush, and incoming fire alert are also noteworthy options to grab. So folks, with all of that said, that concludes today's early access look at the Kronshtadt Tier 9 Russian Premium Cruiser. Guys, if you enjoyed today's video, a backhand of that like button would be greatly appreciated, and a reminder guys to pop some tips and tricks into the comment section down below to earn yourself some sweet loot in game. If you guys are new here and find yourself enjoying the video, then feel free to subscribe to keep up to date with the content in which I'm releasing here on my channel. Once again guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, peace out, and I'll be seeing you all next time. Have a good one.